Well, hi again, everyone. Well, welcome into UnAnchored Boston with Bob Lobel. I'm Mike Lynch, and here we are in the Ides of July, as they say, July 15th. We're taping this today, and as always, we're brought to you by Cold Springs RV, your destination for all things camping. And where? We're in New Hampshire, of course, and the great George Gray, the big wheel we call him, at George Gray's Lexington Toyota 409 Mass Ave in Lexington. Well, we are just thrilled to have one of the greatest Bruins and greatest hockey players of all time, the great Ray Bourque, is with us right now. And Ray, he gets mad at me if I don't let him formally introduce the guest.
That's not true.
So I'm going to send it over to Lobel right now.
It does not get mad at you. I would have said one of the greatest athletes ever to perform here in Boston, and certainly one of the greatest defensemen, obviously with Orr, Bourque, Char, and if we left Milbury out, he'd be really upset, but I'm sorry, I have to leave him out. He was good, but he wasn't like Bourque and Orr and, Char and who am I leaving out here? I don't know. It doesn't matter. Oh, Brad Park. How can I leave Park out?
Yes, Parky. You're right.
Yeah, so with all those guys, so they had a great core of defensemen. There's so many things to talk about with Ray, but I would just say he's one of the greatest athletes and one of the greatest personalities ever to play here in Boston. There's so many memorable things, Raymond, so many memorable things that happened. And you're going to say, how come it wasn't on the ice playing as a hockey? It was on the ice playing hockey, but you did some things that superseded that. And I would go right to the Phil Esposito jersey swap that you said, I heard, in your words, was that nobody mentions anything more than that night and that event when you took off the number 7, gave it to Phil, and 77 was under that.
Well, first of all, it's great to be on with you guys, two legends in your field, and really a strong and a long connection with you two guys. You saw my whole career. You saw me come up here as a young 18-year-old and then retire as an old 40-year-old. So really great to be on with you guys. And yeah, that is so true. A lot of things that I've accomplished. The thing that I hear the most walking around Boston and running into fans is December 3rd, 1987, when they decided to retire Phil Esposito's number. And not everybody knows that I wore 3 numbers with the Bruins. I wore number 29 in training camp and had a great camp. And I showed up for the first game, and number 7 was in my stall. And I, I mean, Peter McNabb always said that I didn't speak English when I got to Boston. That is not that is not true. I was perfect bilingual. I grew up speaking both languages. I just didn't speak. I listened and watched, and I just put the jersey on, and I knew who wore that number. And Bobby Schmatz comes up to me before the game and he says, if you hear any hecklers, don't worry about it, just play your game. And I never heard nothing about wearing the number from fans other than the press, you guys asking me once in a while what I thought about the number being retired. And I said, I was given the number. I'm just wearing it. Yes, he's an amazing legend here. Won 2 cups, everything he's accomplished in Boston. Of course, the number deserves to be up there, but that's not my choice. It was kind of weird because if I would have got to Boston, I wore number 14 in junior hockey. If that was available, I would have asked for that number. They didn't really ask me if I wanted any number, so that was given to me. And later on, after I retired, I had lunch with Harry and asked him about why you gave me that number. And Phil was so upset and pissed at the Bruins when they traded him to New York that him and Harry really didn't get along for a long time. So, and Harry said, I was pissed at Phil, he was pissed at me, and I gave you the number. So I'm like, thanks. But everything, things were going great, and then I guess somehow, some way they reconnected and they decided to retire his number on December 3rd, 87. And but it was really weird because nothing was ever spoken about what we were going to do with the number till 1 o'clock that afternoon. I got
It's unbelievable
it's
unbelievable how that works.
crazy.
I'm sitting down there with Nate Greenberg in the runway before it happened. He said, watch this. He said, come up here and watch this. You're not going to believe it. 'Cause I don't know what you're
Yes.
talking about, but okay,
So,
fine. And so that take it away from there.
so Taz called me from Harry's office and said, what do you think we should do with the number? And just, said the number should go up in the rafters. And we decided that I'd go out with number 7 and warm up. And then I'd come in after warm up. I'd go in the trainer's room and back, and they had 77 there waiting for me. So I put that on underneath my number 7, and we went back out for the game. And all the great alumni, a lot of Phil's teammates from the 70 and 72 team were all on the ice. And then I they call me up, and I go right next to Bob Wilson that was emceeing the event. And we called Phil Esposito up, and then I took number 7 off and revealed 77. And it was an amazing night. And I joke about this, but really the first time I think anybody has ever seen Phil Esposito speechless was that night, and his jaw just dropped to the ice. And I knew I made his day. And no press, no fans, no teammates. I drove in with Keith Crowder and Glenn Wesley that night to the game, and they're like, "Come on, you couldn't have told us about this." So it was only my wife and a few people, trainers and management. So
That's
it
great.
was really great. It was great, and people just keep, that's what they want to talk about the most when they meet up with me.
And there's the young Ray Bourque. Look at the hair. Well, we all were different. We got the shot of you and Phil up there. It was special. And of course, there was a whole backstory about Esposito getting traded. That was another great moment. If you talk about funny things that happened, especially with you guys were such great personalities. I mean, like Mike, what about
Oh,
Cashman going in the hospital, having one call to make, and he calls the Chinese restaurant?
he's got that was in prison when he got stopped in Hartford, and he said he had one call to make, and he calls for pizza. But you mentioned Mike Milbury. Mike would have been a lot more entertaining than I'm going to be today. But just characters, especially I mean the Bruins in the early '70s, they just owned the town, and they were all nuts, and just so many characters on that team. And I got the chance to play with probably 5 or 6 of them, where Jerry Cheevers, Wayne Cashman, Don Marcotte, Gary Doak, Rick Smith. They were all Stanley Cup winners from those teams. And Jean Rattel, Brad Park. To be able to break in and just be surrounded and welcome by those players and those amazing Bruins and great players was so much fun. And then to be able to stick around for 22 years when a lot of the game changed a little bit, but mostly the in terms of money, what guys were making, to allow me to be very independent when I retired. So very lucky, and just lived an amazing dream. Could never have thought that big in terms of what I accomplished in 22 years. I always say, if somebody is a rookie coming in, if you think that you're going to play 22 years and do the things that I did, I think I'd be a hated guy. I'd be so conceited that none of my teammates would have liked me. But just picked away, and just thinking, 10, 12 years in the NHL would be an amazing career. And then you look back and you just go, wow. And doing it in a town like Boston, I mean, you guys know that, sports here, and the passion, and the fans, how much they love their professional sports, and how they just, live and die with you every year. It's an amazing to me when I hear that, some players are not made to play in Boston. I'm like, yeah, are you kidding me? This is where you want to play, where there's a pulse and people are so passionate about their sports, and there's expectations. And um, so for me, it was fantastic. Just ended up here in Boston, even if I'm a kid from Montreal that used to cheer for the Canadians.
I know. One footnote to that night on December 3rd with Espo, when the ceremony was done and the game was about to start, Espo, stepped down those 2 steps into the hallway, and we were all waiting with our TV cameras. And Espo had tears. I mean, he was bawling his eyes out. And in our business, it's what you call a money shot. So we're shooting the whole thing, and I get Dick Dunham, our cameraman, who's one of the great guys, love the goal,
Awesome
awesome
guy.
guy. We're walking out towards the car. He goes, "I effed up, Mike. I forgot to hit play and record." And this is all going on with Espo, and I'm going, "Holy shit! What do I tell my boss?" I said, "I'm going to get fired on the spot. I don't have the reaction shot of Phil Esposito balling his eyes out, just telling how the bottom of his heart." I called Lobel up about 10:30. I said, "Bob, I got a problem." I said, we had a technical problem, blah, blah, blah. Is there any chance I could get some of that stuff that you shot, or we all shot, thought we shot of Ray? He goes, "Send a cab over, I'll have it for you." Send it over there. We got it on the air, and nobody knew the difference. They thought it was our stuff. But Lobel, this guy right over here, saved
But
my
John Dennis must have been busy
Yeah.
that night.
Like, hey guys, really, would that happen today? Oh my God.
Oh,
There's no chance, right? No
no,
chance.
no.
But
And
that's
that
that
was the
was that
shot of the decade.
yeah, well that's how you guys worked, and that's how the relationships were. I mean, I always had great relationships with you guys and all that, and it was all from respect too. We respected what you guys did. You guys were fair to us, and when you when it needed to be said the way it should be said, it was said, and we understood that. So you
Yeah,
know
but
what
Ray, you got to understand that we interviewed athletes from all these different sports constantly, so we get it too. We knew who the ones to approach, who not to approach. We knew the difference between a hockey player and a baseball player and a football player, and you know what I'm saying?
oh yeah, I
You
got you.
guys were approachable,
Yeah,
accessible. You were
yeah.
regular guys, and there was always something about the relationship of, and but you know that you've heard this all the time. There's just something about when we've all tried to figure it out. Maybe it was the Canadian upbringing. It probably was that you were just so polite and generous and understanding. Lynchy, any other way to put that? I don't know.
Oh, you said it perfectly, Bob. You went to Kent State. You have a way with words. I
Thank you,
don't
Mike.
care.
Okay, so you're like Yastrzemski. He followed Ted Williams. He told me once, and I swear, he says, I hated Ted Williams. I mean, in a way that he had to follow Ted Williams. You followed Orr. This was not an easy thing for Yastrzemski, and it was not an easy thing for you. I mean, to come in after Orr. You had a much more prolific scoring advantage because and he had a different style as well. I mean, I want to make sure that everybody knows that you still have a record for defenseman points, scoring, assists, and all those things that go along with being a great player. But you were much more of an offensive player than Orr, although he created the offensive defenseman in a way. So maybe you could talk a little about being a hockey player, Yastrzemski, which is not a bad comparison.
I never. I Well, Bobby, for me, I think he's still, number one when you think about the greatest of all time. I have Bobby on top of that list. Still to be seen if Connor McDavid is going to get there. He certainly is climbing the ladder pretty quick. But so for me, they would compare me to Bobby Orr or talk about Bobby Orr, and I'm like, in my head, there's just no way. And I never even for the slightest thought that, you know, you can compare me with Bobby Orr. And I always said if I could be half the player that Bobby Orr is, I'm going to have a hell of a career. And I really thought that. We're totally different players. I think Bobby changed the game from that position. I'm leading. If Bobby Orr plays 22 years, forget it. Those records are untouchable. Mine right now are a long way to be touched. But I played 22 years. I was very consistent. We played different. Bobby would lead rushes. I would support rushes. I'd run a power play. Bobby, eyes closed, would run a power play. So dynamic as a player. I was a subtle. I did everything really well, but Bobby was just so dynamic. He'd bring people out of their seats. I don't know how many times a game, and so we were really different players. As much as I got involved in the offense, we did it a lot different. And I heard I didn't never saw Bobby play live. I just saw him play when they play against the Canadians, and um, but he could so much better a skater than anybody, pretty much 99% of the league. That he'd lead rushes, he'd be the first guy back. He was a lot more physical than I think people might think by what I heard or saw sometimes by just being a Bruin and watching highlight films about Bobby, and he was tough. He dropped the mitts. But I was lucky enough to play 22 years, and like I said, if for me being half the player, Bobby would have been a great player, and I just but never that I hated Bobby in that way. For me, I think you just look at the long list of great defensemen that went through the Bruins, with Eddie Shore, Bobby Orr, Brad Parr, myself, Shara, McAvoy's on his way. So it always seems like
Bill
there's a,
Milbury, don't forget Milbury.
I forgot about Mike. Yeah, yeah. You must be on his payroll there. Huh? Uh, but they've always had somebody, that was kind of the anchor there and playing that position. So
Great.
I'm just happy and proud that I'm mentioned when you talk about something like that.
So Ray, we'll go back to 1979. You were living in Montreal or in Quebec. You're a lifelong Canadiens fan. Too many men on the ice. Game goes to overtime. Yvon Lambert wins it. You're ecstatic for your Montreal Canadiens. 2 months later is the NHL draft. Tell me how your allegiance and your life changed when you were selected.
Well, I played junior hockey in Verdun, and that night of that game, it was the finals of the Memorial Cup that was being played in Verdun, and I was at that game, and it was Brad McCrimmon's Brandon Wheat Kings against Keith Crowder's Peterborough Petes. And I went to that game, but I didn't have a car, I didn't have a license, so I'd take the bus there. So I had to take the bus back home, and my connection was right in front of the Forum on Atwater. So as the game ended, I was kind of, after the game was all over with, I'm connected right in front of the Forum. I'm like, yes, we just beat the Bruins again. We're Boston were up 3-1 and too many men on the ice and all that stuff. But it all ended. I knew that I wasn't going to Montreal. I was just hoping to go at a really neat and established good hockey team, and I certainly did. So wherever I was going, it was going to end. But being the Bruins and that rivalry and being part of that now on the other side of it, it didn't take long. I just felt it the minute I got to training camp that next year. They were still so bitter at that loss and losing to Montreal again the way they did. So you felt that, and then I got to live that, and I used to go back every summer in Montreal. That's where I'd spend my summers, and then I'd have to hear it again. Like, oh, we kicked your butts again, you lost again, and then '87 was the quietest summer I ever had when we finally was able to kind of, knock that door down and beat Montreal in '87, '88, and man, that was terrific. Even after going down and getting killed in the first game against Montreal that year, we go on to win the next 4 games. And I just remember coming back from Montreal after game 5, and there had to be, almost 5,000 people at the airport waiting for us. And we needed the state troopers to make a line for us to get through to get to our cars. And it was just crazy. And I remember Harry Sinden saying, this is like winning the cup, finally beating Montreal. And I'm like, wow. And then going back that summer, and that kind of started things for us in terms of that rivalry and finally being able to win some series in the playoffs. It had been 45 years. That's crazy.
Ironically, you were drafted in the seventh position. Did you know, Lynchy? So you talk about 777 and him being the seventh round, the first round seventh pick.
Number eight, number eight, Bob.
You were number
The,
8.
I was number eight, but the thing is, number seven was Keith Brown, and rumors have it uh, from a really good source that if Chicago doesn't pick Keith Brown seventh, they pick him. So little different careers.
I'll say.
You know, in those days,
Wow.
you know, when you came out of Montreal, you went through customs in Montreal. Remember that? And every time the Bruins would lose, you know, they don't. You could be carrying the dynamite on your back. They could kill less. Go ahead through.
Yeah.
But I remember that night because I was there when you found the one in Montreal. The customs people made you open every single bag, and Harry
Uh,
was swearing up a storm. I mean, like, let me see the bag of pucks. How many you got in there? Let me see the bag of shin guards, helmets, sticks. And they just said everything they could do to make your trip miserable. But
yeah,
nothing could. But Harry would have none of it.
I'm sure. I'm sure. I don't remember that, but I remember landing at Logan and it being crazy there.
Yeah,
Oh my God, that was amazing, and that allowed us, to get to the finals for the first time with that group. That was just,
right.
we didn't do that well in that series, but still, just getting there with that group and being our group where all the guys that were drafted my year or after me and becoming our team was pretty cool. And then we had good runs there from 87 to the early 90s where we went to two finals and a lot of semifinals. So uh, that was a blast. We had great chemistry, great guys, and everybody got along so well. And the Ys were even crazier than us. So they had a blast. We had a nice group.
The Go ahead, Lynchy. I just wanted to bring up.
Like, but this is a follow up to what Bob was talking about. Why do you think so many guys that played for this organization stayed here for the rest of their lives? They make, maybe have a summer home back somewhere in Canada, but it seems like about 90% of the guys that played for this organization stayed here when their playing days were done.
If you're a player that played here for more than 5 years and had children here, and then you get to live that family experience, there's such a pulse to the city, downtown. You have your major sports, you have these different pockets in the middle of the city. You have the hospitals, you have the universities, the colleges, you have the water, you have the Cape, you have the New Hampshire, you have the mountains, you have everything you could think of. The suburbs are fabulous. It's a great place to raise a family, and if you spend any amount of time here, you know a lot of us just love it and like it so much that we just think it's a great place to raise a family. And once you've done that, you're not going anywhere.
Some people actually got into Italian restaurants. Some people actually
Yeah,
started to own restaurants called Tresca, which was a
yeah,
great Italian name. I mean, what I guess you could open an Irish restaurant or an Italian restaurant, but you picked the Tresca.
yeah,
Yes,
or French restaurant, right?
yeah, I guess that's right.
Um,
Uh,
but
yes,
no, the North End is such a great place, and 20 years ago, I had a friend that had a restaurant there, and he wanted to open up a bigger place, and I got involved in that. Always kind of warned not to get involved in restaurants, and it was kind of very challenging there for many years. But I've got to say that over the last 9 years, um, this new group, Bill Galitis and Peter Weber and and Bill's been in the restaurant business before. He's involved in a whole bunch of Dunkin' Donuts. And Peter Weber was a marketing guy that was part of the new building when the new building opened up here, the luxury seating and the luxury boxes. And then Rich and Sarah is our chef. That's the new team that's been together for 9 years. And I've got to say that it's just been amazing since these guys have been part of it. And Rich, our chef, is does an amazing job. He's got a great staff there. with Jen Bacon that manages the whole place and our staff, and it's really an amazing experience. And all our reviews are a lot of them are obviously about our chef Rich.
Can't miss. No, you can't miss.
Uh,
It's a you can't
he
miss when you
does
go.
he does a great job, and then he's around the restaurant talking to you before or after dinner, so you don't get that little touch anymore in restaurants when you go out. So it's really a fun place to, and the area. There's 70 Italian restaurants in 1 square mile. So if you've never been to the North End, it's quite an experience, and we do very well there.
It's
So,
good.
Greg, talk about this. On the second floor, there's a little balcony, only big enough for two chairs
Yeah,
and one table, and it's appropriately named Table 77, right?
you got it. You got it. A
So
lot of a lot of
how does one go up, and how long is the list for
well,
Table 77?
you better book early. There's so many.
Yeah, but we know
So
somebody.
yeah, well, yeah, the guy that has a hard time getting that table. But I think you got to book that early. There's a lot of anniversaries, birthdays, proposals that have happened, on that table. So it's really a neat place where can you still? Yeah, I'm good. Um, that looking over Hanover Street. It's the most romantic table in the North End, and yeah, it's really cool.
Do you like
I'm
do you,
gonna.
how many nights a week do you find yourself in there?
I try to get in there. I'm not in there weekly. I'm probably in there a handful of times a month.
Yep.
But I'll be there Saturday night. Should I say that? But once the season starts, in October before I head to Florida, a lot of times I'll go to the restaurant. We'll kind of promote that I'll be there, and the Bruins crowd that we get, is amazing. All Bruins jerseys in there, regardless if I'm there or not. Now this is a spot. It's a 5-minute walk to the Garden. So we have our following now that Bruins fans galore, and when I'm in there, I just walk around and just chat and go around and meet and greet everybody. So, and we kind of let people know when I'm going to be there. So before I head to Florida, I usually, regardless if I go to the game or not, I'll pop in there.
Did you ever think, growing up as a kid in Montreal, that this would all unfold in front of you? Of course, you never would imagine how your life would unfold, how your career would unfold, what would you do after your career. I think you'd have to just say it's been an incredible surprise. I think Lynch and I both feel we were extremely lucky to
Oh,
end up doing what we did when we did it.
yeah,
Yeah.
when you end up doing what you dream about doing, it's one thing to dream as a little kid, and I've got to say that probably every kid in Montreal will dreams about being a professional hockey player now, or I'm sure girls now with the opportunity they have, about playing in that women's league, and the opportunities are there for them. But for me, I dreamt as a young kid, when I got into the Hall of Fame, I thanked the Montreal Canadiens for making a young kid dream about playing the NHL someday. And, then I'm here. It's like, wow. But just living a dream. Hockey, I say, was given everything to me and my family, allowed us to do so many things and see so many things and experience so many things that if I don't play professional hockey, that I wouldn't even seen the quarter of what I've experienced. So I came in here as a really shy, quiet kid, but I grew up here in Boston, and I can't, I was always kind of a leader on the ice and led by example and all that stuff. But, when I think about myself speaking to 500 people or in front of the things that I've done or have had to do, or I mean, there's no way I could have thought that I'd ever be able to do the things that I'm doing today, or the restaurant, or our foundation, and so many things, and raising a family here and seeing my kids, kind of, play professional hockey, and now my daughter runs my wife's spa and all the things that they're doing, and having 6 grandkids. And it's just it's been an amazing life, believe me. 64 years old now, and I hope there's a lot left to it,
You're
but
still just a kid.
yeah, but it's been amazing 64 years.
I
Right.
want to bring up. I know,
Wait,
Lynch, you want to talk about the foundation.
you took the words right out of my mouth.
I knew that. I could tell. We've done this so long. I can tell what you're thinking. But I
Just-
want to just go ahead. I suppose I should shut up now.
No, it's okay.
Norman Levier.
Oh yeah.
It was one of the most emotional things I've ever experienced. That night when he came back to the Garden. But I can remember going out to Vancouver. I think Lynch, you were out there, or Mike Dowling. I'm not sure which one who was out there.
Yep.
We went out there when he was injured, went to the hospital, and I remember seeing Harry coming back, and all that stuff. The Norman Levier situation was remarkable in so many levels. And that night when he came back, and you held his stick, and he took him around the Garden. Not a dry eye in the house, as Nate Greenberg would say.
No, and Norman, came in as a young 18-year-old first round draft pick, and had an amazing first year, and hardly said a word. He hardly knew a word of English, and so he roomed with me in camp, and that first season I just remember going to dinner, and he all he could say is same. I'll just have the same as whatever I would order. He'd eat the same. and and then that second year, he had a great first year, rookie year. And then that second year, that first road trip, I don't know if you remember, but I got hurt the last exhibition game in Montreal. I got a puck under the helmet and fractured my whole sinus. So I wasn't on that road trip. I was watching the game, and I just remember them saying that Norman didn't come out after, I don't know if it was the first or second period. I think it was after the first period. He didn't come back out. And then I get a call after the game. Steve Casper calls me telling me that they don't think Norman's going to make it through the night. And it was just, horrible. And then he does. Then he's in a coma for a while in Vancouver, and then they transport him to Montreal. And I remember one of those first games we went to Montreal. He was in the hospital there, and pretty much the whole team went to visit him in the hospital. And I tell you, that kid must have weighed maybe 185, 190. When we saw him in the hospital, he must have weighed about 40, if that. He had tubes up his nose and all. He was like, it was just, it was awful. And
I think
then
people just need, I think these remind people it was a congenital issue that
a brain hemorrhage,
brain hemorrhage,
or an
right?
aneurysm in his brain. So so then the next time we go to Montreal, um, Norman's at the game. He's by the first row, right by the glass in the corner, and we end up winning that game. And the whole team gathers up in the corner, and we're all tapping the glass where Norman's sitting. It was crazy. And then the last hurrah when they closed the garden, the old garden down, and they brought all great all the alumni, and Norman was the last one introduced, and Norman had one more wish to skate one more time in the garden. So we got skates on him and pulled him around. Don Sweeney and I pulled him around the rink. That was, like you said, there wasn't a dry eye in the place.
Oh,
Yeah, it was amazing, and it was so sad, but so grateful. But it kind of did it develop into your development of the foundation, and how did that all come
Uh,
about?
f- for me, we've always, the Bruins were always involved in the community and doing different things for different people, and I did that for so many years till 9 years ago. And my kids, my two boys played professional hockey. Were always involved and doing stuff wherever they played, and they saw, they kind of grew up watching me doing different things for charity. So it was always part of our family, and we decided to start our own family foundation. and we created, we had a golf tournament for the longest time. Then we created a walk and a road race. So those were our two big events that we would run every year. And then my wife, pre-COVID, asked if we could have an event that had nothing to do with sports, where the wives could get all dressed up and get, just have a great night. And so we created, it was called the Black and White Gala, and it was at Boston Harbor Hotel the first year. And then COVID hit. And I just remember always been involved with the Frady's, Pete Frady. Um, when he was diagnosed with ALS, I remember meeting him and his family, Nancy and John, at Tresca, and we had dinner upstairs. And Pete, walked up the stairs fine at 27 years old after he was diagnosed. And we're trying to figure out how can we raise awareness and money for ALS. And we came up with this big hockey game that was played at BU, and a lot of current NHL guys played, and then a few alumni guys played, and that was kind of a one-off. And then they started their foundation doing different things. We always kind of supported what they were doing. And then during COVID, Pete, at the end of COVID, Pete passed away, and all the money that we've raised with the road race and the golf tournament, all that, we've donated to 60 different charities, and we've always tried to support people that support us. But once Pete passed, my wife and I decided that the ball was going to be in Pete's memory, and for ALS research that is out of the Healy Center out of Mass General and the Pete Frady's Family Foundation that gives grants out to families affected with ALS. So Pete was an amazing athlete, an amazing person, friend, leader, um, just a special kid. And everybody that you come across that have met him or played with him just says it all about Pete. So it's called the Captain's Ball because Pete was always captain of wherever team he was part of. And so that's been, our big event. So we've raised over 1.2 million in all the different charities, but
Wow.
a big chunk of that's been for ALS the last 3 years. This year will be our fourth year. September 25th. It's going to be held um, at Songus, that the BU on the ice surface. No ice, but that's where it's going to be held. And you go to BourqueFamilyFoundation.org to find out more about us. But especially that event is a very special one for us. So we've teamed up after Pete passed. My wife and I teamed up with Nancy and John and asked if they wanted to team up and do this in Pete's memory. So we've been doing a lot of good work that way. So it's been very fulfilling trying to build something. My kids are all involved, our grandkids are all involved. We always have a lot of fun at all the events that we have. Trying to grow something that's gonna, just continue for many, many years to come for my kids and grandkids. So it's been a lot of fun for my wife and I and our kids.
Wow. That's unbelievable. I just, I would, I don't know what to say. I have a commercial to do here.
Yeah.
I have 10 things I need to talk to you about, but I also want to mention that Alice Cook, who
Yes, I
works,
heard that.
worked for
Yeah,
us, has
yeah,
ALS.
yeah.
And we had lunch with her like 3 weeks ago. And, she can talk. Her speech is affected. Anyway,
That's horrible.
it's a terrible disease, but
Yeah,
brings out such courage and such in the people that
yeah.
I'm very happy that you guys are about the foundation. I almost kind of bring tears to my eyes to even talk about it because
I'm
I know how
sure.
devastating
Yeah,
that can be. So let me get more. There's so many things we have to talk about. We have to talk about Lyndon Byers. We have to talk about you going to Colorado. We have to talk about all this stuff, right, Lynchy? But let me bring up the Cold Springs RV. I know I'll just make this, but maybe we'll put in a light moment here before we get into some of the other things. This show should be 5 hours long, but I promise you it won't be. Cold Springs RV, and they're in Ware, New Hampshire.
Where?
Maybe you know where
Bob?
Ware is.
Where?
Ware is, it's not nowhere, it's Ware. And
Where?
Ware is west of Goffstown and north of Tingsboro. And I think Ray's familiar with the territory because anyway, it's out there. They have travel trailers. They have pop-ups. I can't imagine what a pop-up looks like. Well, I can, but I don't. I don't have a picture of it. Fifth wheelers. Are you a camper, Ray? You
My dad used to have a trailer that
there you go.
I might have taken 2 weekends with my girlfriend back there.
I don't want to hear about it. Okay,
That's
I
my
say I
wife.
do, but
That's my
not
wife.
here.
We went camping. No, she's been my wife for 43 years now,
Okay,
but
well that's good. They're all in
she's
the
my
boat.
girlfriend back then. But yeah, we might have borrowed that a couple of weekends going
See,
camping.
there you go. This is
Yeah.
a very. I may always maintain that these kinds of things, these trailers, are freedom. You can escape. If you had two separate ones, which my friends do, they can go as they please. If the relationship's not working, they can drive away for a night or a week and come back.
Yeah.
It's very fluid. It's a very good thing for relationships. Anyway, um, they have all kinds of models, park models, pop-ups, motorhomes, pressure-free environment at Cold Springs RV. Uh, there's a lot of summer left, so take advantage of coldspringsrv.com. That's all I can say, coldspringsrv.com. And one of the things about being here, Ray, is that Lynchy, this is kind of his place to create. So, Mike, just go for it with Ray, and then we'll get back
All right.
to it.
So, Red, I know this will come as a shock to you, but we don't pay our guests.
We don't pay our host, Ray, so don't get excited.
But remember, John Madden was afraid of flying, and he had a Madden Cruiser, this fancy
Yeah,
bus.
yeah, yeah.
We're trying to get Cold Springs RV to build something like twice the size of that, called the Lobel Lynchy Cruiser. And what we're going to do when it's built, we're going to give each one of our guests use of it for 7 days. You get to go from here all the way across the country, 7, 8 days, however long it takes you, and we're going to fly you back. The one caveat is that you have to pick somebody to ride shotgun with you. Now, it can be somebody in the sports field, the political field, the entertainment field, somebody deceased from long ago, somebody that you would enjoy having riding cross country with for a week or so. Who would it be?
Uh, you know what? For me, not that I've never met this person before. I've certainly, but the time that I spent with them has been so much fun, and I just like to spend a whole week with him, and that's number four, Bobby Orr. Such a pleasant, fun guy to be around. We'd hit all these fabulous golf courses on the way there,
Yep.
and we'd have some nice cigars. So I could see that being a pretty cool week.
It's a
Excellent.
good one. Yeah,
Number
good one.
four.
Milbury took Winston Churchill, by the way.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah.
That's a great one. That's a great one. LB, as Bob mentioned, we're coming in. Just a guy that had so many phases to him. He had a lot of downs, he had a lot of ups, and was, a Bruins guy through and through. He embodied everything that this organization stands for. And I smile when I think about all the times, that I was around him, and I'm sure you do too.
Of course, he was always making it light, having fun, a glue guy in the dressing room, just an amazing character. Um, Never knew what he was going to say or do, but you knew it was going to be funny as hell. Um, and you know what? He was a second round draft pick, a guy that had an amazing junior career and showed up here, becoming an enforcer in a way, but he was so much more than that. He could play. He's not a guy that would hurt you by using him on the third or fourth line. And I think when they drafted him, they kind of looked at him as maybe a possible top six player. That's the kind of talent that he had. But there's so many great players that are coming every year and all that kind of stuff. And for a guy to kind of find his niche like he did, A lot of credit to him, and he didn't take the easy path in terms of the niche that he picked because he was a big guy, an enforcer that had to go against a lot of the tough guys in the league, and especially in the '80s back then when fighting was you'd see a lot more of it, and we had some good ones with LBJ and Cam we and Willie Platt, we were real stocked, pretty well stocked in that department, and LB was one of the big ones there. But just an amazing an amazing guy that went on, after his career to be on radio, and the cult following that happened after his career, I think might have been bigger than his career
Yeah.
with AAF and Hillman you know, and some of the crazy stunts that he would get involved with, and his beliefs in certain things, and always being there for the little guy, and always, you ask something, you ask LB for anything, he'd give you the shirt off his back, and that's the type of guy he was and teammate. So, and he always had our backs on the ice, that's for sure. But he's a special guy. Certainly will be missed. I say he's one of a kind. This type of guy that be careful what you ask because something might be coming back that may shock you.
Yeah, absolutely. He was telling Bob played a portion of an interview he did with LB about 6 or 7 years ago, and you guys were going into Philly to play the Flyers, and I think Taz might have been coaching. I'm not 100% sure, but LB went to another room and said, "Hey Taz, do you ever get scared when you're down here to play the Flyers?" And Taz goes, "Shit, yeah, those are the Broad Street Bullies. They get Schultz, they get this guy, that guy." He goes, "Yeah, I may have looked like I was brave, but I was scared shitless going out there.
Oh,
Don't,
it's
don't be
amazing.
afraid."
These guys, like, you just talk to Cam, or you hear them in the bathroom. They're puking before games, and it's not nervous about scoring or whatever. It's what may come, and you got to be ready for it. So it's not an easy job. And these buildings, you go into the Spectrum or Montreal in a way, and where people would come into the Garden, I'm sure they felt the same way coming to play us in the old Garden. So these buildings really gets your attention, and especially those guys. I've heard LB, Cam, and Jay. They'd have a hard time before games
Yeah,
because
Really.
they knew they had to be ready for not fun stuff to come.
What's
LB said he got a look, right, Bob? He got a look from somebody, and that meant we were
we're
going.
going right? You look, you just make eye contact, and
Oh yeah,
communication is right there.
yeah.
You mentioned okay, bringing up Philly is the perfect segue to my next question because when you were traded, okay, there's myth, there's also legend, and there's reality, and hopefully you'll be able to shed reality to the myth. Myth was that Harry sent you to Colorado so that you could win a Stanley Cup. That's the short of it. But that's not the story. There's a lot
No,
more to that story than just Harry being such a good guy that he loved you so much that he sent you to
yeah.
Colorado to win a
Yeah.
Stanley Cup.
He picked the right spot, but it's not where I wanted to go. I wanted to go to Philly.
See, that's right.
Uh,
You wanted to go to
yeah,
Philly.
I was in the process of building our house at Cross Country Club. It was our big kind of dream house, and I didn't want to go out west. I wasn't planning on going out west because travel is so much different, and I want to stay in the Eastern Conference where travel is a lot easier. And if the schedule allowed me to come back to Boston just to see my family or the project, I'd be able to do that in a second. So for me, I was looking at the teams in the Eastern Conference. And at that time, I thought Philly had a really good chance. They were having a really good year. It was Lindros and Leclerc, and they had a good squad. So I asked Harry when I asked to be traded. I'm like, I want to go to Philly, and he was at the GM's meetings, and I thought being there for almost 21 years, it'd be pretty easy, and he'd send me to Philly, and I knew that Reggie Lemlin was the goalie coach for Philly, so I knew exactly everything that was going on their side, Philly side, and I thought I knew what was going on with the Bruins side because I was, I'd be talking to Harry, um, here and there about the situation and reinforcing that I want to go to Philly. And he says, yeah. And then, we're playing Philly an afternoon game. It was the last game I played with the Bruins. And Reggie that morning said, it's a done deal. It should be done sometime today. And I thought after the game, I'm going to be told I'm going to Philly. So I'm on the ice for the last seconds of the game. The puck just trickles to me. So I pick up the puck and I get off. And then I'm waiting to hear from Harry. And I go to his office looking for him, and he's not there. I'm trying to call him, he's not answering, and I'm like, okay, not knowing what's going on, and I want to find out. So he calls me later that night, and I said, Harry, I know Philly. I was told that this thing's really close, and you know where I want to go. He says, well, hang on tight. He says other teams are involved, and so then I knew. I had gotten a call from Dave Ellett that was in St. Louis asking if I'd go to St. Louis. And René Angelil, Celine Dion's husband, called me. He
Celine
grew up,
Dion's husband, right?
yeah, he grew up with Pierre Lacroix. They were best friends. They would talk every single day. So René calls me in his voice. Hey, Ramon, how are you? This is René Angelil. Do you remember me? We played golf together in Montreal. And I'm like, yeah, René, I remember. Yeah, yeah. How you doing?
We got
Amazing
audio.
place. You would love it there. I hear. Okay, do you hear me now?
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah,
That's
good,
fine.
good. This is the accent must have thrown off the microphone.
Okay, well, and then he says it would be a great place to play. They're a great team, and Pierre doesn't know I'm calling you. I'm like, okay, yeah, now you got me. So I knew Colorado was in the mix. I knew Detroit was in the mix. New Jersey was in the mix. So I knew things were starting to roll in different directions. So Harry said, don't come to the rink this on Sunday, the next day. And he says, if it's not done on Monday, yeah, sorry.
Good. Well,
Um,
we're
I,
happy.
yeah, he says, if it's not done on Monday, don't come to the rink. We were playing Ottawa that day. So now my wife and I are looking at schedules like Detroit, New Jersey, Colorado, Philly, and so wondering, how the schedule looks because my family wasn't going to come with me and they just want to see how it'd be to visit and all that stuff. So it's not done on Monday, so I'm like, okay, um, I don't go to the game. Um, Dave Andrechuk calls me. He was pulled off the ice in warm up. He says, Ray, I don't know what's going on, but you know what's cooking. I said, I might be going with you somewhere because they just pulled me off the ice. I said, no, I know nothing, Chucky. I said, well, hopefully we find out soon. So Harry calls me at the end of the game that night, tells me I'm going to Colorado, and so it was just it was an amazing place to go. I've never played on a team that was as talented as that. I never played with so many French guys or French people in the organization. Um, because they moved from Quebec in '96. They went to Colorado there, so everybody they kind of came from Quebec. So it was really cool, and I needed to go somewhere because we were so bad for you know a few years there, like 2, 3, 4 years. We're awful, and 38 years old. I had to find out if I had anything left in the tank, and I want to compete again for a chance to win in the end. So couldn't really have gone to a better place. Got to play with some amazing players and Joe Sakic, Forsberg, Patrick. you know,
Patrick Waugh.
yeah, it was. I had so much fun with Patrick for 15 months out there. We drove together the games. We sat together in the plane and went for dinner on the road all the time, and just had a blast. And I knew that, the minute I got there, I remember my first game. I was playing Calgary and just coming out from behind the net, and Milan Haydu comes off the boards. I rip a pass there. He rips a pass to Joe going up the middle on a breakaway. They score. I'm like, man, I think I might have some fun here, and certainly did. Certainly did. And I played that first year. Went there March 6th. We lost to Dallas in the semifinals, and I knew in 7 games, and I knew I was going back for one more year. So that year was an amazing year. We won the President's Trophy. Patrick broke the record for most wins by a goalie. Joe Sakic won the Hart Trophy, scored almost 60 goals, and Haydu scored 50 something. And just, we had the best goals against average. And going into that year, Bob Hartley, our coach, really wanted us to commit to trying to be a very good defensive team. And winning the best goals against average. Patrick wins the Vesna. Just all the way around, it was just we won the President's Trophy, and then getting to the end and being able to hoist the cup was just an amazing relief and an amazing feeling that you just wish everybody gets to live. And everything that I lived there, from winning, celebrating the parade and all that stuff. And all I could think of is imagine winning this in Boston. And when they won in 2011, I knew exactly that it was going to be friggin' cuckoo. And it was amazing to watch from a distance, but I just wish so much that I could have lived that in Boston, because in Colorado it was great. But one big regret is not having the opportunity to do that in Boston. So
I think Marshawn feels the same way.
I'm sure he did. Well, he won it in 11, so he got to live it here. But but I think the fans and people felt the same way about Brad going out there and hoping that he was gonna win. Knowing the situation here, and going to a place where to get to win it again. Everybody that I was running into was cheering for Brad, and so was I. So um, it's fun. It's fun. It's tough being in a place where you're so used to competing and being part of the mix, and not being part of that mix anymore, and very frustrating trying to bring people together and trying to create that winning attitude when you just don't have the horses, and it's not going to happen. So going to a place where you're going to a healthy situation and you got a chance to win is as a player, that's what you wish for.
I don't think anybody, and Lynchy, I don't think anybody
No,
had any animosity at all. And we were so
No,
happy for
it was
you.
fun.
no. And then
We're
the
so
mayor,
happy for
the
you and so
mayor,
happy for Marshawn, both.
yeah, and then the mayor's office calls my agent and wants to have a celebration for me at City Hall, and I'm like, I don't think I should do that. I don't want to embarrass the Bruins. And Steve Fryer says, "What about if the Bruins sign off on it?" I said, "That's the only way I do it," and they did. Michael Connell signed off on it, and then there's 10,000 people that showed up at City Hall. It
Yeah.
was unbelievable. But everybody I ran into, even after that first year where we didn't win, and I came back, just saying that, man, you kept us up late at night. And after the next year when we won, people telling me exactly where they were when I won the cup, in the
I
back
can
room
tell you
at,
exactly where I was too.
yeah,
I was in
yeah,
Vermont at a
yeah,
resort, playing at a golf resort,
yeah.
watching the
And,
game at 11,
you know,
12 at night or whatever it was.
from U2, who's the guy that the guitar player for U2? He comes out with the
Oh,
Bruins.
Bono,
Oh,
Bono.
yeah.
No, it's not Bono. It's another guy.
Edge. Edge.
Edge, yeah, yeah. He comes out with
Oh,
a
you're
Ray
good,
Bourque
Lynch.
jersey. He comes out with a Ray Bourque jersey. He tells that's the night I was. He says Ray Bourque's about a minute away from winning the Stanley Cup, and the place goes nuts. And they send me. I got a DVD on that shows me when he
So
did it.
cool.
It was amazing, and the back room of a wedding or backyard parties. So coming back after that year, everybody was just so happy for me, and they knew. I never thought I would ever leave. I always said I wouldn't leave to win the cup, but that changed when it was I just thought, you
All
know,
right, so you win the cup. You have your day with the Stanley Cup. What did you do that day? Do you remember?
yeah, we had a big. It was like a wedding at the Ipswich Country Club. We had a big tent. Had invited like 250 people, all my ex-teammates that I played with in the Bruins, and then the teammates, a lot of the guys that I played with in Colorado came, and my family and friends, and just an amazing day. But um, the really fun, like after when we won. So I knew going in for that second year, I just wanted a 1 year contract for the same amount of money I was making the year before. And Pierre Lacroix gave me a 2 year deal. I only wanted a year. I tell Pierre, I'm only playing 1 year, so I'm giving you 2 years. I'm like, okay. So I knew going in, my wife and I, that regardless of what was going to happen that year, I was only going to play 1 more year. So um, we go into the finals, and we win game one, lose two, win three, lose four. Then we go back home for game five, and we don't lose at home, and we lost. We got killed 4-1 that game. And then we're going for game six in New Jersey. And I knew that could be my last game played. So I bring all my siblings, my dad, my wife's siblings, her dad, my best friends to that game, and my family comes to the case it was going to be my last game. I bring everybody in for that game, and it was just an amazing feeling knowing that you've taken everything in at that time, and then we win for nothing, and now I'm bringing everybody to Colorado for knowing it's going to be my last game. So I've got them all in hotels, and some are staying in my house. So I got this big 15 passenger van that is driving people around, and there's a big cooler in the van. So after the game, we celebrate at the Chop House, and then Pierre Lacroix tells me to bring the cup home with me. So then I take the cup in the van, and now everybody's in there, and now I take everybody home with me. It's around 2:30 in the morning. I start beeping the horn, and people are coming out of their houses, and I put the cup on the sidewalk and the cooler in the street, and we're there till 5:30 in the morning. It was unbelievable. And then I bring the cup home with me for the city hall thing, and then I get it for 3 days in August for my big party, my big bash. So I had it, and then I had it for a couple of hours in my hometown. So I had it 4 different times. So if you've ever been around that trophy, it's just an amazing sight to behold, to be next to that.
What does every kid in Canada cherish more? Playing for the Canadians or having their name etched on the cup?
It's got to be the cup for sure. Yeah, and not everybody wants to play for the Canadians, just the ones growing up in Montreal.
Wow.
Well, I want to mention your son Ryan just is going to be working with the Providence Bruins.
Yeah.
Uh, how's that? What kind of advice do you
That's
tell him?
I don't have to tell him much advice on coaching. He is so motivated and such a hard worker. He played 11 years in the American League and played one NHL game for the Rangers in Madison Square Garden against the Ottawa Senators. So if you're going to play one game, I guess that's where you want to play it. But he's always been a kind of a glue guy, that a role player that did a lot of different things for his team, and he was always an amazing teammate. So I think coaching was always going to be something that was going to be there for him. So he ended up, you know, first job was for a girls team. I think it was at Rivers, um, with as an assistant there. The coach there, I think.
Sean McEachern?
No, no, it was for the girls team, and
Oh,
it's what's her name? Um, Man, it'll come to me. But so he ends up coaching there that year, and they just squeak in the last spot of the to make the playoffs, and then they end up winning it all. And then after that, he ends up in Charleston in the ECHL, um, coaching the Stingrays there for 2 years, an assistant coach there. And then from there, he went to Michigan for the National Development program under 18. And then the Cushing Academy job opened up, and he ended up taking that head coaching job there. That they won all of New England last year. So we all thought that he was going to be at Cushing a little longer than just 1 year, but Providence came calling. He's had great relationships with Jim Montgomery, Butch Cassidy, Mike Sullivan, Joe Sacco. He's really a guy that reaches out to all these guys to learn. Jim Montgomery brought him into the meetings with the Bruins coaching staff when they talk about how they play and how they want to play and all their systems and all that stuff. So he's a coach. That's what he wants to do. He wants to coach at the highest level, and this is a great opportunity for him. So we're very
Great.
happy for Ryan, and then my son Chris played 17 years in professional hockey and like over 50 NHL games, and he's working for the Maple Leafs. He's director of college free agents for them. So he's been doing that. It's going on 4 years now. So they're doing what they like to be doing. That's what they know best, and very proud of them. They're working hard.
How was it the nerves watching your kids play as opposed to the nerves when you played yourself?
I'd get out of my seat once in a while, but I was pretty calm. My wife, not so much. I'd have to kind of sit 2 seats over because I could easily get punched or slapped, or just she would yell, and I mean, she was the crazy one. I was pretty calm, collective, and I could just sit and watch the game.
I
Hey, let me
remember.
one more spot in here before we let you go, Ray. Hey, if you're thinking about a new car, go with Lobel and Lynch. Go see our good friend George Gray at George Gray's Lexington Toyota. We've been customers for years because they know that George Gray and his staff will treat you right. The family-owned and operated dealership we trust, and you can trust as well. Go see the great George Gray, the big wheel we call him, at George Gray's Lexington Toyota, 409 Mass Ave in Lexington. A no bigger Ray Bourque fan than George Gray. So those you got George in your corner anytime you need a vehicle, Ramon, just stop by and see the big wheel himself.
Sounds
One more
good.
thing. I know you want to go here, and I just have to.
I'm good.
We talked. We talked a little bit before we started the podcast about golfing at Ferncroft. Donna Capone.
I remember her. She did. She would
Didn't
do.
she
Yeah,
play
she
with
was
us that
awesome.
day?
See, yes, she did, because I remember seeing her on a flight um, once, and she talked about playing in our group.
Yeah.
She's a hot ticket. She did the PGA, the ladies PGA, for a long time. She was one of the analysts for a long time.
I know, but we couldn't remember her name before.
Yeah,
Neither one of us. But that,
Yeah,
just
on
sitting here,
Capone Young.
that was a long time ago.
I know it just
That
comes.
was
Where does
early
this stuff come
'80s.
from? It comes in your head.
Yeah.
Bob Spiller used to from the Boston Five. Bob Spiller was in charge, the guy with the white hair and had a red face.
Yeah.
And
That
but
was
they had a lot.
called Bank. What?
Jenny Blaylock was up there. It was a great event.
Well,
Yeah, it was
just
a good event.
remember that Capone played with Ray and I. We played in that same foursome or whatever. It's just,
Yeah, the Pro-Am.
yeah,
Remember that.
it was great. Okay, that was the one question. The other one I wanted to talk about Don Cherry, but we never. I don't know. You got a minute to talk about one of the most fascinating characters. You talked about characters that were around here.
Well, I never played. I never played for Grace, but you hear so much about Don Cherry, and as you know, from the guys that I mean, Fred Creighton was my first coach in 1979, and we're in first place overall in February, and they fired him because the guys could not stand him. Like, all the guys were so used to grapes, and Fred Creighton was such a different person than what they were used to over the last 9 years, and they just begged Harry that, and I knew no better. I had just heard stories about grapes and all that stuff, but the real story about Phil Esposito when he got traded in Vancouver. Did you
You
ever hear
tell
that one?
no, but this is good. I did
Yeah,
hear it, but I heard it
yeah.
because I go ahead.
So, um, so they're trading. Harry goes to grapes, in Vancouver, they say, we just traded Phil to New York, so you got to go tell him. So Grapes gets Wayne Cashman and Bobby Orr, his two best friends on the team. Now they're staying at the Bayshore, and it's right on the water, right?
Yep.
Beautiful place, and the windows are all facing the water, everything like that. So they walk in, the three of them knock on the door. They walk in, and Phil's like, "You better not friggin' be telling me I'm going to New York." And Phil knew, right? What was going to happen. He says, "If I'm going to New York, I'm jumping out that friggin' window right now." He says, "Bobby, get in front of the window." And Bobby confirmed that story to me. But he was just a character. Then he goes on, I mean, he went to Colorado and coached there for a little bit, but then, he becomes Mr. Hockey in Canada. His coach's corner in Canada. I mean, people would just stop whatever they were doing on a Saturday night and listen to what he had to say between the first and second period,
Yep.
because he would come out with some doozies, man. Oh, against the Russians, Swedes, a European player, forget it. He wanted no part of that. So he'd come out with some stuff. But I heard so many stories about him. He'd go to Carloon's after every game, on his
Yeah.
way home. Just yeah, a colorful guy. And then you just see. I just remember them playing Montreal, whatever. He'd be on the bench, with his foot up on the boards and making these scenes and like just entertainment galore. His dog Blue and just. I mean, you guys loved him because he would give you so much.
He was the best.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, Ray, can't thank you enough. This was
Pleasure.
a lot of fun, and we love covering you. You're one of the best, one of the nicest guys, and a lot of people don't know. Now, I've seen you probably a half dozen times in action. Hell of an auctioneer right now, by the way, Ray Bourque.
I got to
Yeah,
show you this.
yeah.
Go ahead.
You could get a $100 bill out of somebody's pocket faster and quicker and more effectively than anybody I've ever seen.
Yeah, well, I learned that if I'm asking for money at our events, we're going to get a lot more, and especially when the auctioneer was. I feel really uncomfortable when somebody's up there and they feel very uncomfortable because, they're up there and it's like, oh my God, can somebody give me $1 for this thing? Oh, who give me $2? And I'm like, oh my God, we're going to be here all night. I said, get up, give me the mic, let me do this, and we'll be out of here in 20 minutes. I promise you. So, what do you got there, Bob?
Well, you just did this Children's Hospital Rudolph thing every Christmas. So they had, it was you. I have all kinds of, Jay Leno at the top. Jay Leno.
Cool. What's my picture? I can't really see it.
It's you in the bottom. It's you and
What is it?
it's
Is
you
it
and
action
on the ice
or
with antlers. You and
okay?
I'm not sure who it was. Sweeney. I'm not sure who that was.
I can't make it out.
Okay. Can you see
But
Lynchy?
there's two things, Bob. I
Hold
want
up
to
there, Bob.
mention.
Hold up.
I can't see it. There's a reflection
You and
now.
Ray, right? Bob?
What's that?
It's you and Ray.
No, it's Ray and somebody else. Ray and another Bruin.
Maybe John Dennis.
I don't think so.
So,
right,
Bob,
anyway.
I don't know if you remember, Bob, St. Martin's. When I'm driving through these little farms and there's cows that are in the middle of the road that are actually stopping cars, and who do I see jogging by my car? Bob Lobel.
That's right. St.
Remember that?
Martin. That's right. I do.
And then I see it. We stop. I stop. I said, "Hey, Bob." And he comes back and we chat for a little bit, and then we see each other at the casino that night. And what was the other thing?
See, is that
Oh my
better?
God, you were bad. You were bad. One night, you're friggin' questioning. You're questioning my friggin' toughness or how healthy I'm gonna stay because I broke my jaw in a fight. Then I got the puck in the head. Then I broke my this is all like back to back years. So I got the puck in the head, broke my jaw in a fight, break my wrist in the playoffs against Quebec. Next thing you know, he's got me friggin' the news are on. Now he's got a picture of me with a band-aid on my forehead, a band-aid on my jaw, a
No,
band-aid
I
on
don't
my
think that
wrist,
was me. I don't think.
questioning, will this kid hold up to
Oh
the
God, that
NHL and
would be
all
a
this
horrible
stuff?
thing for you to do. I'm
Hey,
so ashamed of myself.
that
And
never
that
happened on
kid
Channel 5,
never,
Ray.
never on Channel 5.
Never on Channel
Only
5.
I'm
only on
so
Channel
ashamed of
4.
myself. I apologize. And I know it's been long. An apology long overdue.
Yeah, but after that, I was fine. I
All
was
right,
good.
good. I'm so sorry.
So this
There's only a
Bob
minute.
Lobel. So this year, my wife and I are in the airport lounge in Fort Myers waiting for our grandkids to come in. And my wife, Mary Ellen, goes, "Hey, I think that's Ray Bourque on the other side of the bar." And I said, "Hey, Bourque." And he comes over, and that's how Bourque waits for his luggage. He doesn't, he times it perfectly for a little libation. And so when that thing is done, I know that the clubs and the luggage is coming down the chute. He says, "Gotta go. See you guys later. Thanks for the drink."
Yeah, yeah.
Boom, that was
I
it.
th- I thought you were going to jump that part that you yelled at me and says, "Hey, Ray," and then I walked over and I saw you guys at the bar. But that's you're not lying. That is fact. When I know I'm going to have to wait a half hour for my luggage, I just yeah, might have a little pit stop.
Right.
Well, also, I know you hold a lot of records in the National Hockey League, but you also hold one of the records here. But this is the longest podcast we've ever done because it was so interesting. Okay, it was
Well,
fantastic. I had
well,
some,
great.
yeah, fantastic.
We had
Well,
fun.
thanks,
Thanks so much,
guys.
Ray.
Keep well. Good luck with it.
All right,
Yeah, well,
and
good
we'll
luck with
see
the
you down at
foundation
Tresca,
too.
all
And
right?
Thank you.
I'm going to tell Alice Cook we had this conversation. She'll be really
Please,
happy.
please,
Yeah,
please.
she'll be really
Yes.
happy to hear it.
All
All
right.
right.
Good.
All right, folks. Thank you.
If you could get me Alice's info through
I will.
Mike or get my info through Mike or whatever, I'd love to invite her to the gala,
That'd be
the
great.
ball.
I will.
Yeah.
I'll take care of that.
Okay, great.
All right.
Thank you.
You're the
All right.
best.
Ray
Thank
All
you,
right,
Bourque,
Ray.
Hall of
guys.
Famer,
Take
all
care.
great guy, has been our
And,
guest.
and
Make sure you follow us on unanchoredboston.com.